Purposely. Your life, God's purpose. Listen at purposely.com.
What do we do with our uncomfortable emotions and difficult seasons of life? How do we not just fast forward to the right answer? There really aren't any shortcuts to solid faith, hope, and relief. And that's why we practice lament, which is what we're talking about this week on the Bible for Busy People podcast. I'm Jen. We are reading through the book of Lamentations and talking about the spiritual practice of lament. I just finished reading the book, This Beautiful Truth by Sarah Clarkson. In it, the author shares about her experience with debilitating OCD, obsessive compulsive disorder, and these all-consuming intrusive thoughts of violence that she started receiving when she was just a teenager. As someone who has struggled with depression and anxiety and really terrible intrusive thoughts, I could relate on some level to what she had been through, though not everything that she has suffered through. What impacted my heart the most reading her story was just hearing what she learned through it all, which is that God breaks through barriers to meet us in the messy middle. God uses beauty to reach us with light in the darkest moments of our life. And God transforms us with beauty into those who can face our pain and also into people who partner with God to bring more beauty into the world. She quotes Madeleine L'Engle in the book, saying, "Those who believe they believe in God, but without passion in the heart, without anguish of mind, without uncertainty, without doubt, and even at times without despair, believe only in the idea of God and not in God himself." When we face our uncomfortable emotions and difficult seasons head on, God meets us there, both to sit with us in our pain and also to help us develop fortitude and faith in ways that we can't fathom. Again, this is an ongoing practice. It's not a magical quick fix. Thanks in part to this book I just read in the middle of a tough season for me and honestly a lot of difficult things going on in the world, I've been able to be honest with my fears and frustrations while also looking for beauty and attributing that to God. When we see the beauty and we attribute it to God, we can choose worship and we can try to bring beauty wherever we can. It doesn't solve everything, but you'd be surprised at how the practice of lament and seeking God can shape you. On her blog, Reverend Kristen Yates says, "As we grapple with the hard realities of this world and name our emotions and desires surrounding those realities, we find ourselves being drawn into the loving arms of the one who himself knows great suffering and pain. We find ourselves learning to find abundant life, even in the midst of a world gone wrong. We find ourselves having hope in the Lord who will one day make all things right." We're going to read today in Lamentations 3, which turns out to be the most encouraging chapter in the whole book. It says, "I am the man who has seen affliction by the rod of the Lord's wrath. He has driven me away and made me walk in darkness rather than light. Indeed, he has turned his hand against me again and again all day long. He has made my skin and my flesh grow old and has broken my bones. He has besieged me and surrounded me with bitterness and hardship. He has made me dwell in darkness like those long dead." You get kind of the picture here, but I'm skipping ahead a little bit to verse 19. It says, "I remember my affliction and my wandering, the bitterness and the gall. I well remember them, and my soul is downcast within me. Yet this I call to mind, and therefore I have hope. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. I say to myself, the Lord is my portion, therefore I will wait for him. The Lord is good to those whose hope is in him, to the one who seeks him. It is good to wait quietly for the salvation of the Lord. It is good for a man to bear the yoke while he is young. Let him sit alone in silence, for the Lord has laid it on him. Let him bury his face in the dust. There may yet be hope. Let him offer his cheek to the one who would strike him, and let him be filled with disgrace. For no one is cast off by the Lord forever. Though he brings grief, he will show compassion. So great is his unfailing love. For he does not willingly bring affliction or grief to anyone." And I'm skipping ahead again to verse 40, which says, "Let us examine our ways and test them, and let us return to the Lord. Let us lift up our hearts and our hands to God in heaven and say, we have sinned and rebelled, and you have not forgiven. You have covered yourself with anger and pursued us. You have slain without pity. You have covered yourself with a cloud so that no prayer can get through. And then one more time, skipping again to verse 55, it says, I called on your name, Lord, from the depths of the pit. You heard my plea. Do not close your ears to my cry for relief. You came near when I called you, and you said, do not fear. You, Lord, took up my case. You redeemed my life. Lord, you have seen the wrong done to me. Uphold my cause. You have seen the depth of their vengeance, all their plots against me. So at this point, the author of this poem becomes the metaphor for Israel. It's the longest chapter because it uses 3 lines per Hebrew letter, and it's still in the acrostic format. The Bible Project notes that it uses language that's used elsewhere in the Old Testament, like in the Psalms and the book of Job. It also has that huge turning point in the middle of remembering and putting trust back in God. Verses 22 through 23, those are some of my favorite verses in the Bible. Because of the Lord's great love, we are not consumed, for his compassions never fail. They are new every morning. Great is your faithfulness. It doesn't discount the lament that comes before or after. It's the point at which God is remembered for who he is and what he does. And from there leads to a change of action, to examine our ways and test them and let us return to the Lord. I think it's so important not to skip everything else and rush to this point. That's my temptation, is to say, okay, but I'm just going to be faithful, or I'm just going to trust God and I'm not going to think about it anymore. And again, we've been talking about this week. Lament is a part of the practice. It's a part of the process of really being honest and laying everything out before God. God already knows what we're thinking and what we're feeling, but out of relationship with us, out of his love for us, he wants to hear it from us, and he wants us to engage with him. He invites us to share our pain and our grief and our worry and our fear and our anger and all of it with him. We need it all, the expression of grief and confusion and frustration. We need the remembrance of God, and we need a heart that turns back to him. What does turning back to God look like lived out? When have you had to turn back to God, and what did that mean for you? What are some examples that you've seen of other people who have turned back to God? We've talked about repentance before on the podcast. That's a part of the process. I wonder what that would look like for you, even in terms of lament, how you would still end up turning back to God. I'll leave you with that thought, and we'll chat again tomorrow. If you're listening to this podcast, I'm going to assume 2 things about you. First of all, that you're a busy person, and second, that you are in need of a restful break. Cannon Beach Conference Center is the place for a beautiful coastal retreat. Whether it's one of their enriching conferences or your own church or ministry event, you can find out more at 800-745-1546 or visit cbcc.net. Thank you to Cannon Beach Conference Center for sponsoring the Bible for Busy People.
Thank you for listening to The Bible for Busy People. If you need prayer or want to go deeper in your faith, visit our show notes. Will you take a moment to share with a friend and leave a review? It helps the Bible get into even more people's minds and hearts. Find more podcasts that will recharge you at purposely.com.